Well, hey, fellow explorers, and welcome back to another episode of Travel Tips by Chris. Today, I'm going to be reflecting on why do we travel? By we, I mean myself, OC Girl, the princess. Why do we travel? But why do we, as a society or as a world, travel? Why do we cram ourselves into really small airplane seats to fly halfway around the world to a place that we don't know the customs and people speak a language we don't speak? And why do we spend a lot of money doing that? Why do we do that? Why am I thinking about this topic today? Well, this weekend was pretty exciting because the 300,000th person subscribed to the Yellow Productions channel, and we watched the little counter here roll over to 300,000, and so today is a celebration as well. There will be plenty of time on this particular episode for Q&A, and I'm wearing my celebratory hat right here. You usually wear hats like this, but it's not really good with video lights, so I'm gonna go ahead and wear it like this. I've also got some special announcements and some behind-the-scenes conversation about things I've been working on that are finally ready for release and ready to talk to y'all about today. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into why we travel. And I kind of broke this ranking out into like 8 different reasons why we travel. And, you know, I think this applies to us as people while we travel, but I'm going to make it specific to us here at Yellow Productions, why we travel. And particularly, I think I'm talking about why we travel for leisure. I recognize that people travel for work, for jobs, and certainly people travel for family reasons, to go to graduations and weddings. So those things aside, why else do we spend thousands of dollars to go halfway around the world where we're not working and we don't have family or anybody that we know to visit when we go there? And so the first reason that I think people start to travel, and certainly why we started traveling, was to see iconic destinations, see the places that we saw in the movies, that we saw on television, that we read in a book, that today you saw on Instagram or TikTok or even YouTube, because it's one thing to watch the ball drop in Times Square in New York City on television. It's another thing to actually be in that place. And there's just something to say, we've been there, right? It's like this. But I call this like the most basic form of travel, because at some level, just being there, it's like checkmark travel. But it's something you got to do. Whether it's Times Square, whether it's Hollywood Boulevard, the Eiffel Tower, Big Ben in London, the Great Wall of China. There are these places that just put awe in you to be like, it is super amazing that like the human race has created these particular things. I also see in the chat on the live stream, Geoman says, I travel for new experiences, and Kathy says, I travel because I enjoy not being at home. Those are 2 great reasons too. All right, so the second reason that we travel is we travel for amusement. You know, there's been a lot of things created on this earth, in this planet, to just bring joy to anybody who goes. You know, I put Disney up here, Disneyland, Disney World, Disney Sea. Any Disney park is just, it's a great, amusing time. I mean, it's been created to give you the most amount of happiness and joy in the shortest amount of time, not necessarily with the lowest amount of money. These destinations are also expensive. I put places like the Las Vegas Strip in that category, where you stand in front of the Bellagio fountains, or you see the volcano in front of the Mirage, like things that just bring out the inner child in all of us. And I'll say, our 3-year-old daughter, we asked her in preparation for this live stream yesterday as we were hiking, I said to her, why do you travel? And she said, I travel for playgrounds. Playgrounds, also indoor playgrounds, and also hotels. Hotels is another category that we're going to get to as well, but as a 3-year-old, amusement is definitely what she's looking for out of travel. All right, so working our way down the hierarchy, the third reason why a lot of people travel is a lot of people travel for better weather. A lot of people live in cold places in the winter. They want to go someplace warm. A lot of people travel for the beach. We don't travel for the beach because we live in Southern California. We're like a 10 to 15 minute drive away from some fabulous beaches, so that's not a reason why we travel. We also don't really travel for better weather, because the weather here in Southern California, it's pretty darn good, frankly. The weather we do travel for, though, we travel for an annual snow trip, because what it doesn't really do much in Southern California is snow, or snow very well. Like, there are ski or snowboard resorts, but I just consider them mostly like man-made ice as opposed to like natural fluffy snow. So that's what we travel for when a lot of other people are traveling the other way to Hawaii for the beach. We certainly go to the beach when we go to Hawaii, but the beach is not the defining reason as to why we go. Canyon Overlook says, I used to like game rooms in hotels in the 70s, and I feel like game rooms in hotels are actually definitely making a comeback. When I was at Disney World, one of the hotels there, they had a game room in the hotel. And when we were in Japan recently, and you're going to see this with our Japan vlog coming out, we stayed at this kid-friendly hotel. It didn't have video games, but it had like ball pits and a whole bunch of other really cool things. And so I think that just amusement factor for hotels is something that hotels are thinking about bringing back again. Now, the fourth reason why we travel is we travel for food. I mean, foodie travel is a big, travel trend with food tours, pub crawls. I get that a pub crawl isn't really food, but it's a drink, right? So that counts, particularly with breweries and the microbrew scene. But what kind of food do we travel for? Because, we live in Southern California. We live in, a food capital of the earth. I mean, we can get most cuisines or most dishes here in Los Angeles. It's not that hard to find things, but there are things we can't find. Side note, what's the big food trend right now? The big food trend right now here in Southern California are birria tacos, which are basically a stewed beef in the taco and then served with a consomme or this strongly flavored soup that you dip the taco in every time you eat it. Last weekend we ate at Mike's Red Tacos in San Diego. This is number 50 on Yelp's top 100 restaurants in 2023. So if you're in San Diego and you want to try out one of the best of this new trend of birria tacos, check that out. All right, so that being said, that the food here where we live is pretty inexpensive and pretty good. What kind of food do we travel for? Well, there are some food items that we just can't get here in Southern California. The first one that came to mind was fugu, which is the Japanese poisonous blowfish. And then I looked it up, and it turns out there are 2 chefs certified in the U.S. to serve fugu, to cut it up such that they don't kill you when you eat it. Where's one of those chefs? Beverly Hills, Los Angeles. Okay, that didn't make the list. Something that did make the list, though, is horse sashimi, raw horse. You can't get raw horse in the U.S., at least not at a restaurant, but in Japan, you can. And maybe that, of why we travel, maybe going to eat raw horse isn't the reason why we travel to Japan, but it's certainly something that we enjoy when we're there. I mean, is horse sashimi a delicacy that we want to have all that often? No, but it's a cultural experience and a lens to look at a different culture through about raw horse. How did that start? Why do you eat raw horses? Where did that come from? And that brought us down this whole journey about where did this particular dish or cuisine, how did this become popular in Japan? A dish that we can get here in Southern California, but it isn't very good, is laksa. Laksa is a Malaysian/Singaporean specialty of a curry/coconut-based broth with a couple different types of noodles and some seafood in it. And in Southern California, they just don't taste right. The peppers they get aren't right. The coconut broth isn't very good. And in Singapore, it's just amazing and to die for. And I seek out laksa every time I see it on a menu in the U.S., and every time I eat it, I'm just disappointed, so I should probably stop eating it. But I did seek it out in Australia, and it's actually really good down there. So those are the other types of dishes that we seek out, the ones that just aren't right. They just aren't, authentic is often the word people use. But I feel like authentic is often overused. I don't need it to be authentic, but I do need it to be good, that's for sure. Kathy from Australia right there says, yum, love laksa. And of course, here's an interesting laksa tidbit. In the USA, if you ask most people if they've ever had laksa, they'll probably look at you with one eye like this and be like, huh? And then you go and say, have you ever eaten in a Malaysian restaurant? And there are very few Malaysian restaurants in the U.S. In Australia, there's a Malaysian restaurant every 3 blocks, it seems like. So Malaysian seems to be the Mexican food is every 3 blocks here in Southern California. Seems like you can't go very far without tripping over a Malaysian restaurant. in Australia. Mama Jamma says horse meat is also a popular dish in Verona, Italy. All right, thank you for that tidbit. Yeah, and it's interesting how different regions pick up different meats and say, like, we love that and we're going to eat it. And then different places go and say, oh, absolutely not. We're not going to eat that for sure. And by the way, on the live, I see Lynn joined us from Guam. Thank you. And Pogo Joel says, congrats on 300K subs. Thank you, Pogo Joel. I appreciate it. All right. Now, another culinary trend that we look for is like different ways of eating. So I'm going to reference barbecue right here. And there are some pretty decent barbecue restaurants in Southern California. None of them is good. Well, maybe some of them. I mean, I think some of these barbecue restaurants will give the ones in Texas a run for their money, but none of them serve it like some of these true Texas barbecue places do. Rudy's Country Store. It's a chain. You can find it in various parts of the U.S., not in Southern California. You can't, not where we live. And so this one I actually ate in Phoenix, Arizona, but whenever I go to like Colorado or Texas, I seek out Rudy's. The way they serve their barbecue, they don't serve it on plates. There are no plates to be had at Rudy's. Instead, you get your meat on like a butcher paper, like a wax paper. Why? Because they basically treat their barbecue restaurant as a butcher shop. So you go in and they got the different kinds of meat on a sign, and then you tell them what meat and how much. So you want the brisket and you want a half pound of it, and then they cut you up a half pound of it. And of course, as the Californian, we're all health conscious. I mean, not me, but everybody else in California is health conscious, just wants the lean meats. They have two types of brisket. They've got the lean brisket, and they've got the fatty brisket. And you know which one costs more money? The fatty brisket costs more money because the fatty brisket's tastier. They call it the brisket moist, and then you can get like as many pieces of bread as you want to go with it, and then sides served individually. But like it's kind of neat to have these like different even eating experiences to be like, oh, it's interesting how we eat it here, but that's not how they eat it in the place that this cuisine actually originated. Alex says, I love fatty brisket. And Ramen Ghost says, where is this located? This particular one was in Phoenix, Arizona, but you'll find about 40 locations of Rudy's around the U.S. Brian says in San Diego, Phil's Barbecue ranks right up there. There's a barbecue restaurant in San Diego, Phil's Barbecue. It is one of the most rated restaurants on Yelp in the entire USA, hands down. And if you like the barbecue sauce, you like it. And if you don't, you don't. Barbecue is one of those where like I could spend a whole live stream about barbecue and sauces, but I won't. But that is the reason why we go to Texas. I'll be like, I'd go to Texas. I'll connect in airports in Texas because I'll be like, I can get barbecue in the airport in Texas, which is, I mean, okay, it's not as amazing as barbecue outside the airport, but still pretty darn good. All right, so we've covered the first four things, which are we travel for iconic destinations like Hollywood Boulevard, Times Square. We travel for amusement reasons for like theme parks. We travel for places for weather that we don't have where we live. For us, it's for snow. For 4, we travel for food. We got 3 more on this list. We are at number 5. Fifth reason we travel for hotels. Here on Yellow Productions, we review hotels. You can tell we like our hotels, and so the hotel experience is a big part of our trip. I know some people don't really care what kind of accommodation they stay at, but we do. We really care. So, we book our flights, and then sometimes even before we book our flights, we book the hotels. It's like a pair thing to be like, I'm not going to a destination unless I know there's good hotels, which is why we haven't been to a lot of the national parks in the USA, because the hotels are frankly pretty garbage at a lot of the national parks. But we're like, the Canadian national parks, there's actually some Fairmont hotels in there, so we might visit some of those before we visit some of the other US national parks. This one is the Hyatt Centric in Ginza, Tokyo, that we were at just recently. But a good or bad hotel can really make or break a stay. Something that we look at for a good hotel, in addition to being in a great location in like the city center, I and our daughter really like the buffet breakfast, as a matter of fact. And there's a part of me that like when I come home and I don't have the buffet breakfast anymore, I'm sad that I have to I have to make my own breakfast. It's like, woe is me that I can't just go downstairs to a place that has 40 or 50 choices for breakfast. This was the executive lounge breakfast at the JW Marriott in Singapore, but quality of breakfast is certainly something we look at. And Ramen Goaded says, what was the best hotel you've ever rated? One of my favorites is the Andaz in Maui. I also really like the Tokyo Station Hotel. Those are two of our favorites. Andaz Maui has a really fantastic buffet breakfast, and it's actually one we were staying at the Hyatt Regency in Scottsdale, Arizona, and they had like a guacamole making experience or something like that, where you could like go to the restaurant, like make some guacamole with like the head chef. And as we're chatting with the chef making this guacamole, he said one of the things he likes about being a chef with Hyatt is that as other hotels need more staff, he gets to like travel around to different hotels and like live in those hotels as he works there and like, be like a traveling chef where hotels need him. And so then we asked him, where is your favorite of the Hyatt chain that you've been to, and particularly because he's a chef, he's like, food. Andaz Maui, that was the one he recommended, and then we traveled there about 3 months later based on that recommendation, and we were definitely not disappointed. And Joyce says, yes, our Fairmont Whistler review was very good. Indeed, the Fairmont Whistler is quite near the top of our list as well. I rated it well, but hopefully maybe you mean it was a good review. Video-wise and points-wise, all those together, yes, we enjoyed that one. And Ramen Goaded says the food at hotels for breakfast is very good. And Sarah says, my kiddos love the buffet breakfast. Yeah, our daughter, like, when we're at a hotel that doesn't have a buffet breakfast, she's almost like sad. It's like we get up and she's like, okay, let's go to breakfast. And then every once in a while we're like, this hotel doesn't have breakfast. And she's like, what? No, I want to go to breakfast, All right. So the other reason why we love hotels is we love hotels that aren't just, four walls and a bed and a bathroom, but that really provide a cultural experience of the destination, which is why when we go to Japan, we really like to stay in the traditional Japanese hotels, particularly the ones that have hot spring baths. Here's our daughter enjoying the foot bath at the Hoshino Kai Ito Hotel that we stayed at on our recent trip in Japan. You see she's changed into the hotel-provided pajamas, essentially, and it really is just a different way of existing than staying at the Holiday Inn Express or the Home2 Suites. By the way, do you know the #1 hotel brand in the pipeline for new hotels being built in the U.S. right now is Home2 Suites by Hilton. #1 chain, kind of a lower end chain. #2, Town Place Suites by Marriott. And #3, Holiday Inn Express. None of those three are really hotels that I love. Home2 Suites is my favorite of the three. And they have a free breakfast, but it's just okay. Park Hyatt New York City is a destination like no other. There are definitely hotels in this category that we can't afford, but we enjoy being treated like a king or a queen or royalty for a day or two. The Park Hyatt New York goes for upwards of $700 a night if you're paying cash. We used Hyatt points. This hasn't become Green Productions yet, but we enjoy those experiences when we can have them. All right. Now, the last kind of stay we enjoy are the ones that are like a really cultural stay. When we were in Korea a few years ago before the pandemic, so like 2019, we had the opportunity to spend an overnight stay at a Buddhist temple in Korea. And this was a stay like no other. I mean, we had a monk who was our guide. We ate like the monks. We ate like the monks did. We did the 108 full bows like the monks do. We woke up at 4 a.m. like the monks do. I don't want to do it again, but it gave me a whole different appreciation for like what it is to live in a monastery, and what it is to just live that life. And it's cool. You can book a night at a Korean temple. By the way, I do want to thank Kathy. Kathy says, congratulations on the 300K. You deserve it. Channel's the best. We'll miss the live streams while we are away. Well, Kathy, I know you're going on a trip, so I hope you enjoy it, and I'm glad we got to 300,000 before you headed off. And Adam, thank you for your support as well. Yeah, Points Traveler asks, how was the monk breakfast? You know what? I have a video to show you about the monk breakfast. So I'm gonna roll this 1-minute video, and then I'll come right back to you. The Mimosa Temple in Busan. I've never been to a dishwashing carving thing. The buffet: hot rice, kimchi, broccoli, bean sprouts. We've got like a fruit salad here, and then this. It looks like pork, but it's not pork, with some homemade sauce. There looks to be a hot bean sprout soup right here, and then our morning tea, not like the British. It's not in a fancy cup that you can put your finger on the side. It's in... All right, so there you go. I had that queued up for you to answer how the breakfast was. Is vegetarian. So yeah, I like meat in my breakfast. By the way, I'm thirsty now. What am I drinking today? Today I'm drinking this drink from It's Boba Time. What is this drink? This drink is the jasmine milk tea with matcha and a foam top. It's really popular at a lot of these Taiwanese boba places, or just boba places in general. Don't necessarily have to be Taiwanese, but that they put like a foamy milk on top that you kind of have to like stir up or like shake up a bit to get it in there. And then the matcha settles on the bottom, because I got this a few hours ago, so it was ready for the live stream. Nice rich taste. It is not a broccoli drink. It doesn't taste like vegetables. It has a nice tea flavor to it, and then it's kind of like, because it has this milk foam, it's like you toss whipped cream in a drink or something like that. Anyway, pretty good. And Brandon says, hey, what's everybody else drinking? I'm curious, what are you drinking? Shout it out in the chat. Brandon says he is drinking an orange Fanta. All right. Oh, and by the way, if you want to watch that video about the Korean Temple Stay more, just search for Yellow Productions Temple Stay Korea. You'll find that video. All right, so the sixth, I need to put the right number of fingers up. The sixth reason why we travel is to experience different ways of life. What does that mean? To explore different ways of living. Chris, you just said the same thing with a different set of words. Okay, what do I really mean by that? I mean like what it's like to live in a different place, in a different culture, with in a place where people think a different way about the world and things and places and public transportation. And so things we like to do when we're in places that we travel is we like to take the public transportation to, if that's how people get around. If it's not, then not. But, you know, to travel like the locals do, to go to the supermarkets that people shop in, or how they shop. If it's the supermarkets or it's the street markets, like where people buy their food. And, you know, whether or not we buy any food there, because we can't maybe cook in the hotel that we're staying at, we like to experience that. And, you know, for restaurants, we don't really love to always eat at the hotel restaurant, but we also like to go and eat where the locals are. One of our most memorable meals was in Korea at one of the street markets, at like one of these noodle stands that was just along the side of the street market, where, you know, like there's 20 stores that all sell the same kind of noodles, and a lot of the people come to the street market, you know, they go there, and they go there around breakfast time to get what they're going to cook for the day, and they want some noodles, and so they sit down and get a quick bowl of noodles as they're looking for their food. Ethan in the chat says something I want to highlight, because I'm going to bring this back at a later point, but Ethan says, hi Chris, me and my girlfriend planned a whole Vegas getaway from your videos. And Ethan, thank you for that comment. When I get into why we make videos, comments like these, Ethan, are why we keep making these videos. So Ethan, thank you very much. And then Alex says the street markets in Asian countries are so impressive. And people are saying, what is this picture right here? This is the Getty Villa in Malibu. Pacific Palisades, Santa Monica, I don't know, it's in one of those three cities. They're all kind of right next to each other. But there's a fantastic museum in Los Angeles, the J. Paul Getty Museum, and J. Paul Getty before that built this villa as like the predecessor museum. It's built like an Italian villa, except in Los Angeles. Free admission, super cool to go to if you're in the west side of LA near the beaches. All right. So speaking of culture and museums, then the seventh reason why we travel is to experience the culture. What does that mean? How do we experience the culture someplace? You can tell I'm very cultured here. If you know this painting, I'm standing in a very strategic place so that this painting is YouTube safe. But the easiest way to experience another culture is through museums and shows. And I've never really been a huge museum person, to say, in the past. But the museums I enjoy are the ones less where I just go and stare at some paintings. But I really enjoy the museums where you actually learn about the place. So in Singapore, the National Museum of Singapore is a museum all about the history of Singapore. And I think that's just kind of neat to experience that history in the place that you are, and then you make sure that the stuff that you're reading is actually accurate instead of the stuff that 27 people have cut and pasted online at the same time, and then all the locals would be like, I don't know what those people on the internet are actually talking about. But also shows are a great way to experience the culture. When we're in Spain, we really enjoyed going to flamenco shows. And flamenco shows, not just in the super touristy places, but in Barcelona, finding the flamenco show in, basement level 2 of this bar or something like that, where it's just you're 10 feet from the people that are playing the music and doing the dance. And being there, wherever it is, whether it's Spain or another country, in places where they practice a traditional art or music or performance, the ones for the locals are the ones to truly get into. And it's not to say that we don't visit the touristy ones. We'll do that too, and then we'll go try to visit the local ones. This is always one where in Hawaii, people go and say luau's. Chris, should I go to a luau? Or is it too touristy? I'm go experience a luau. Just know that the way it's presented to you is not the way that the locals experience their family party that they get together. But the locals, they do stuff like that too, just presented in a different way for the tourists. They probably don't have a fire dancer every time they have a family gathering on the weekend. Now, the second way that we like to experience the culture in a destination is through walking tours. Generally, people who offer walking tours in cities are locals. A fellow explorer here that often joins on the Yellow Productions, Rob from Trip Packs DC, local from Washington, D.C. He does walking tours of D.C., right? That's a great way to experience the people, is spend an hour or two with a tour guide that offers a walking tour. Third, we enjoy experiencing the hospitality staff. So the hotel concierge, every time I check into a hotel, I will go to the concierge and I'll be like, hey, where do you think we should go? And just interacting with them, hearing their recommendations, super fantastic. To the lounge staff, chatting with the people in the lounge, chatting with the people in the restaurants. If you're staying in a bed and breakfast, chatting with the hosts over there. I will say though, of hospitality staff, beware in France in particular. The hospitality staff gives France a bad name. I feel like a lot of the people who service tourists in France are rude and gruff because they get so many of them. They just are, do you speak English? And they go, no. And they'll just, go on with their day. But real French people, actually some of the coolest people that I've met. But they're not the people that are manning the ticket booth for the Eiffel Tower. And fourth way to experience people or the culture is just chatting. I've found this works well if I'm traveling by myself. If I'm traveling solo, I can be at a restaurant or in line for something, and sometimes as the guy who looks a little different, people might say something to me, or I might say something to them, and they'll hear the accent, and they'll be like, oh, where are you from? And then we can totally start a conversation. In Sydney, Australia, I was sitting at a restaurant and nearly joined a dinner party of 3 other people that were sitting next to me because it turns out they had spent some time living in Newport Beach here in Orange County. Then they're from Sydney, and so they had a sort of instant connection. Also, we found now that we have a 3-year-old daughter, being in playgrounds or ball pits or things with her, opens up a whole new parents club of oh, it's safe to chat because you have a kid and we have a kid and we have something in common too. All right. In the chat, Seth says, congratulations on 300K. I couldn't be more proud and happy for you. Seth, thank you for all the support over the years as well. And the support right there with the chat. Thank you. All right. The 8th reason why we travel is, and this is the deep introspection. And I don't know, maybe you could pick it out from the picture right here. What's Chris trying to say with this picture? Because this is the last on my pyramid of why we travel. And so really why we travel now, having traveled for 20 years and making videos for 15 of those years about it, you know, we really travel to get a new lens on our own life, on our own things, through being in other places and through having different experiences. You know, for people who say the New York City subway is awesome, I'm like, have you been to a subway in Taipei or Japan where it actually is awesome? And I'm like, and you haven't. And if you had, you possibly wouldn't say the New York City subway is awesome. Yeah, maybe it's better than the one in Kansas because they don't have one. But I think it's really interesting to understand how different people do things and why different people do things and life in different parts of the world, to think about in our own place, in our own life, in our own customs, what we can do better or what we're doing or what other people do that we're like, maybe we should do that instead. Brandon says, life is so limited. I want to experience everything I want to. Yeah, for sure. You know, that's the problem. There's only so much time, so many destinations, and, you know, so much money to go to all of them. Okay, so now that I've gone through why we travel, I want to go through just really quickly why we make these videos. And then I'm going to share with you a couple projects I've been working on, and then we'll have plenty of time for Q&A after that. Okay, so why? Why do we travel and make videos about them? And so this is, you know, I love numbers for things. So why do we make videos in 6 points? Number one, we started making these videos to give ourselves something to reflect on ourselves. We go on a trip, we make a video, and we can watch that video and be like, oh, that was pretty neat, the things that we did. You know, it's cool to look at pictures, but it's even cooler to watch a video, and it's even cooler to watch an edited video. And, you know, my background in video, my dad used to be a wedding videographer, and so he would take me along with him to shoot weddings, and I'd help him edit some videos, and so I had a little bit of video background to help me get started into the whole thing. The second reason, then, from like moving on to like making them for ourselves, was to make them to jumpstart conversations with family and friends. You know, like, hey, how was your trip? Hey, let's watch this video. Let's watch this quick video, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then we can talk about it. But like, you can just like see it, you know. So we weren't the people that people would come over to our house to watch the boring like slideshow about our travels to Egypt or something. But like, just watch the video, and we would put it up on our website, yellow.net, with 2 W's, just an MPEG file people could download. And then people started asking us questions like, not just how was your trip, but hey, it's cool that I watched that. You know, how did you do that? Where did you eat? How did you take the train in Tokyo? And so then the third thing is we started making these videos to help family and friends plan their trips. Okay, the fourth reason why we make these. So I started uploading these videos to YouTube, and, you know, it turns out people watch them, which made me want to create more. I'm like, somebody watched this video. That's amazing. And, you know, probably my first video that really took off was my video about the cool vending machines of Tokyo, Japan. I think it got a few 100,000 views. And I'm like, wow, people like this 2 or 3 minute video about the vending machines in Japan. That's neat. Another one that took off early was my review of Peter Luger Steakhouse in New York, which I didn't give it a very good review. I said it was way too expensive, and people said I don't know steak. But then a lot of people were like, Chris, I'm with you. This place is overpriced. When they do open in Vegas, I'm willing to give them a second try. And then third, my 5 worst cheap hotels on the Las Vegas Strip was definitely the one that probably everybody here has seen, that everybody just enjoys. And so when that goes on to have millions of views, then it's like, okay, well, people are watching these videos. But it's never been about, for me, it's never been about the numbers or the fame. It's been about because people say, Chris, your videos help me. And that was why I pulled up the comment earlier, and I'll pull up Colleen's right now. Colleen says, your Japan videos were super helpful for me when I was going to Japan. It's those kinds of comments that keep us going. People who say like, hey, you really helped us decide to go to this place or not go to this place, or helped us in this place. You helped us plan our whole West Coast itinerary. And I've even had some fellow explorers like share with me like their printed like itinerary about like, Chris, these are as everywhere we went, and these are all your videos that we looked at that helped us go to those things. And I think that's fantastic. And so then in And number 6, and this is the last one of this list of why we keep making these videos, is because now more frequently than ever, we run into y'all when we're out and about in the world. And a couple, two just really funny stories about this. One, when we were in Tokyo recently, we were at Sensoji, the kind of like main temple, like it's the big red temple with the gates that like everybody goes to in Tokyo to get their pictures of like, look, I'm in front of something Japanese. And this place is like mobbed with tourists. And we were there for like an hour, and then OC Girl goes like, you know, it's weird that we haven't like run into any of your subscribers yet. And then like 5 minutes later, you know, we run into like a family who's like, oh, we love your videos. Can we take a picture? Can we take a selfie? Which is super cool. On that note about like, you know, the fact that people want to take a selfie with this guy, I'm not particularly handsome, right? Like tells me that people are like, I enjoy your videos enough that I actually want to get a picture with you, which I think is super neat. Now, the encounters that are like a little weird, I'll say they're a little weird. By the way, I encourage, if you see us out in person, definitely say, hey, we love it. But where they're a little weird are the ones when people come up and they just start talking to me like, or us like they've known us for years. And it happened just this past weekend at the USS Midway. Super nice family, and so I'm not talking ill to them about them at all. But they're just like, Chris, oh my gosh, so great to see you. How you doing? What are you doing? And I'm like, hi, what's your name? You're right. You know, it's like, but they're starting from a place of like, we've been friends for years, which is fantastic. And then I'm just like, or literally some people come up, they just walk up to me and go, can I get a selfie with you? Hi? What's your name? Is it because you see me on YouTube, or is it because you just stop everybody that's wearing a yellow hat or yellow shirt that goes by? Anyway, I love to have the conversations. I just love to start from a place about like, hey, Chris, I love your YouTube videos. It's great to see you. Oh, great. I can place this, as opposed to like when people start talking to me like they know me, then I'm like, are you somebody that I've met that I've forgotten? You know, that's what I always think through my head. And I still, to this day, when people like, you know, yell out like, Chris, it was OC Girl that had to be like, hey, Chris, I think they're talking to you. And I'm like, they must be talking to somebody else. They can't be talking to me. And turns out they are talking to me. And Stargazer says, we have known you for years. You have known me for years, and I think it's great. Well, I will say, one of the reasons why I love these live streams, though, is I get to know a lot of you. I've met some of you in person, but not all of you. And Brandon says, I want to see you in real life someday. And, you know, a lot of you that I've only known through chat, I do feel like I know pretty well about things you like, things you dislike, things that you're drinking. And Valerian the Mac says, I like the hat, Chris Lukentrop. Thank you. I appreciate it. This is my celebratory hat today. Okay. So those are all the reasons why we make videos. Now, I want to share a couple special announcements with y'all, and then we'll go to open Q&A to cap off the 300,000 subscriber celebration. So a couple announcements of things we've been working on here at Yellow Productions. One is an answer to the request that I do get a fair bit of is, Chris, do you offer private tours? Chris, I'm going to this destination. Can you show me around? And it's not something I do, because if I spend the time doing that, it just takes time away from like actually making a video that could like help a whole bunch more people. So I figured out a way to do the next best thing, and those are with guided audio tours. So I've just released 2 guided audio tours. By the way, if you've been following this channel for a long time, you'll know we kind of did like a trial of this in Modesto for the almond blossoms last year. And Modesto is in California Central Valley, and there's this tourism board there, Visit Modesto. And I would say they're like a pretty forward-leaning tourism board, really looking at how do they like take this natural phenomenon that they have of almond blossoms and try to turn it into something like Japan has with the cherry blossoms. And how do they get people out to the farmland? And I've had the opportunity over the last couple of years to visit Modesto 5 or 6 times or something like that over the last couple of years, which, by the way, is more than I've ever visited Modesto in my life previously. And so for the short period of time that the almond blossoms bloom. There's been a Almond Blossom Cruise audio guide that you could take, hosted by me, Chris Rainey, the voice of the almond blossoms. And so walking around Modesto, I'll talk to people, and they'll be like, they haven't seen my videos, but they'll be like, I know that. Where's that voice from? It'll be like, oh, well, or maybe someone I'm walking with will be like, oh, he voiced the audio. Oh, that's where I know that voice from, which is neat. So we partnered with Visit Modesto to do a year-round tour in Modesto of the street art in Modesto. Modesto, California, the city government spent a lot of energy to beautify their downtown area by encouraging people to paint murals on the sides of their buildings. And I'm gonna blow this up a little bigger so you can see it. So this is like a sign, like a mural on the side of one of the buildings of the farmland and some poppies. And then they're famous arch that says Modesto, water, wealth, contentment, health. Well, if your travels bring you to Modesto, you could download the Yellow Productions audio guide of Modesto on your phone. It's for iPhone and Android. And I'll show you a picture of that in a moment. And basically it's an hour of Chris telling you where to go. Turn left here, turn right here. This is what you see. Take a look at this art. And I think it's a fun time. This is an example of some of the art that's there in Modesto, like the kind of stuff that you'd never see unless you had somebody walking you around to see it. And that's what the app looks like. So you download it to your phone, the Modesto Street Art Tour, you push Start Tour, and then it'll give you navigation directions. It has a map. It had all these things. You can click on them and you can see the different waypoints. I did not build the app. The app is by Wayfair, a cool team of developers and also former Hollywood scriptwriters or even current Hollywood scriptwriters that help produce the package and help with I'll say this, maybe we should say this, we should do it that way. And so it was just frankly a super cool experience making this tour with them. And if you wonder what that looks like when you go on it, this could be you going on the tour, headset in one ear, headset in another ear, and like that. And the reason why we decided to endeavor on these is because OC Girl and I, we really like audio tours. And there was a company called Detour that did audio tours. It was an audio tour company that I think Google bought, and I don't know what they did with them, but they're not there anymore. And we did a number of these guided audio tour walks in San Francisco, and learned a ton about San Francisco, right? Just by listening to somebody who knows a lot more than we do about walking through a destination. Yeah, Kathy says, need to do more of them. I hope to. I'll tell you the next one that I have. Points Traveler says today Modesto, tomorrow Tokyo. So the next one that actually just is rolling out with this video informally to y'all, and will be rolling out formally when I release the next Vegas video, a couple weeks like that, is the Yellow Productions driving tour of Las Vegas. I don't have as many pictures of this one because Visit Modesto went around and took those cool pictures that I showed you before of the app in use in Modesto. But in Vegas, I've put together a 1-hour driving tour of Vegas to take you to some of my favorite kind of off the beaten path destinations and tell you the story of how Vegas was born from nothing, sand, by the Mormons, the mob, and now ultimately run by those with MBAs, Masters in Business Administration degrees. So the tour is a little bit titled Las Vegas, Mormons, the Mob, and the NBAs, but I think it's a fun time, and if you wonder what that looks like, I'm going to show you one of our beta testers that took the tour out. He stuck his phone out the window and recorded me doing the narration as they were driving down Fremont Street. It's 30 seconds, and then I'll come back to you.
Massive video screen that literally covers the sky. Welcome to the Fremont Street experience, where thrill seekers indulge in a massive adrenaline rush.
Okay, so that video didn't actually play because it was the wrong format, and I should have formatted it better. But, right, as you drive, then I'll tell you hey, look out your window to the left, and that's what you'll see, and you'll see this, and we're coming up on the stratosphere. And so if you're headed to Vegas, you can also find that link in the description to download that audio tour. Meritocratic Mafia says that's exciting, and I will definitely do that next time I go to Vegas. Brandon says that's a great one. And if any of you do take them, I really want your feedback, because we'll be making more of other destinations and other places. So let me know what you like, let me know what you don't like. so we can refine those apps. And Stanford Bridge says, so Vegas was founded by Mormons in the mob with MBAs. Yeah, there you go. You just put like all three of those together, and that's what it is. Yeah, Ramen Goated says, can you do one about Balboa Park? San Diego is definitely one that we want to do, and it's just, it's like on the list of like priorities. It takes... The amount of effort it takes to do a driving tour is like pretty significant because, a video, like I can just make it, you gotta go, but like a driving tour, like there's waypoints and you gotta like time how long it takes to drive the car. And so there's a lot of, there are a lot of different things you have to look at. Now in the chat, I want to thank Colleen for your support. And I also want to thank Boston Elevators for joining officially the Yellow Productions crew, which was the next thing I was going to talk about. But if you see in the chat, it says, welcome, Explorer, Boston Elevators and Aviation. Can you chat? Can you drop another chat in the comments now that you've done that? So, so I'll get to that in a moment after we see the chat from Boston Elevators. But the other thing I want to introduce is that, as I've tried to create more content for y'all, and everybody says like, Chris, I love this. Can you do this? Can you do another video on Balboa Park? Can you do this? Can you do that? I've gone from 2008, a video whenever I wanted to 2015, a video per week, to maybe 2018, where I was doing 2 videos a week, to now where it's like 3 videos some weeks, which is a lot of work. And so I've reached my capacity to like do it all. And so I'm growing the Yellow Productions team. I want to formally introduce to you the editor for the Yellow Productions team. I've referred to this gentleman as the editor that's helping me with things, but he has a name. His name is Yusaku. Really super cool, funny guy. Originally hails from Japan, lives here in Irvine, California now. And so on some of the recent edits, if you've been noticing the like editing quality of the Yellow Productions videos like go up 2 or 3 times, you have this man to thank right here. And like the interesting sense of humor that you've seen in some of the Singapore vlogs and this and that, like in the edits, that's like Yusaku adding even more to the story. And so I want to formally welcome Yusaku to the Yellow Productions team, and you'll be hearing more about him as we go on. But I felt weird talking about an actual person as an editor without introducing him. All right. And so creating all these videos, doing the Singapore series was really fun. I tried to do this vlog style because a lot of people said like, Chris, I love the vlog style that you do. Can you do this? Can you go here? Can you go here? And so when OC Girl and our princess went to Taiwan, they went there for like a month. I took the first week and went to Singapore by myself to make videos exclusively for y'all. That's why I went to Singapore, because I'm like, everybody loved my Singapore series. It's been 5 years since I've updated it. It's time for an update. People said, Chris, can you do more Singapore videos? And I'm happy to say people, like, I've got a lot of great reception of them, but but the AdSense numbers, they don't cover the costs of creating like great videos like this and editing the videos. And so if you would like to help support quality content, because the AdSense numbers frankly just don't do it, is you can join the Yellow Productions crew officially. On your videos now, there's going to be this join button right here, and Boston Elevators in the chat just did it. And when you join for your first month, you will get this little badge in the chat to say like, hey, you are new to the Yellow Productions crew. And then after like a month or something like that, it'll change to this little panda thing. So that's how you'll be represented in the chat. And I don't know, Boston Elevators, if you can find the custom emojis, you will get some custom emojis that you can access, which are these little Chris emojis right here that you can use in the chat. $4.95 a month, but it's a great way to help support quality content. Whenever I talk about shirts, people are like, Chris, is there any other way I can support you? Because I've bought enough shirts. And that's a way you can do it today. So Boston Elevators, thank you very much for joining. And Boston Elevators also says thank you to Yusaku. Yusaku's the one who I asked him, because I'm like, it's self-serving to me to pick out these, but Yusaku's the one that I like. When I asked him, I'm like, what do you think I should use for emojis? He's like, Chris, why don't you go with these? So you can like use those custom emojis right there. All right, well, that's enough of the Begathon. You know, I before we go to Q&A, I want to say like again, 300,000 subscribers. Truly amazing. I'm truly humbled. Thank you, everybody, for your support over the years. I know many of you, like Wu Taiwan Nostalgia, always like, Chris, you should be on the Travel Channel. You should have a TV show. And I think Wu Taiwan Nostalgia actually like emailed the Travel Channel to be like, you should bring this guy on your program. And so it got me to thinking with that, like, what's the next milestone? You know, after 300,000. And then I looked at the Travel Channel's, subscribers. The Travel Channel has 490,000 subscribers on YouTube. So that's my next goal. Our next goal, is to beat the Travel Channel. That's what I want to do. I think Yellow Productions should have more subscribers than the Travel Channel. So tell your friends, tell your family. If you haven't subscribed yet and somehow you've made it to this point in the video, please do subscribe and help me beat the Travel Channel in number of subscribers. Right now, that would be 491,000 as the milestone to beat the Travel Channel. And also, thank you to Scottman895 Travel for joining the Yellow Productions crew as well. I really appreciate that. Scott says, I have to be a member of the Yellow Productions crew because Scott's been here for a long, long time, and I appreciate your support over what almost seems like a decade or something like that. Scott is someone that, like, nearly every video that I post at some point, like, he comments on it, and I love it, Scott. Thank you for doing it. If I don't get a comment from you, I'm like, what did I do? This video must have been really bad if I didn't get a comment from Scott. So Scott, thank you very much. And Kathy also says, I will join too, but I have to go work out now. Kathy, I appreciate your support as well.
Fellow explorers, it is now Q&A time. If you've got a question, I've got an answer.
All right, fellow explorers, so now you know why we travel, why we make these videos, some cool things we're working on. I hope to share more cool things with you as we go, and I hope to just bring you more content, more videos, better videos to help you plan better trips, or just entertain you, because I know many people are here for that too. W says, do I ever watch Gabriel Traveler's channel? I've watched a few of his videos, but I would say I'm not an avid watcher of his channel. SoCal Seth, is the Andaz Maui a good place for photographs? I think so. I think it's a really picturesque property. Tamala says, when is the last time the Travel Channel aired meaningful travel content? I'm just going to leave that as a hypothetical question. And Scott thanked my word, says you always create great quality content. I appreciate it, Scott. Raman says, what's your favorite U.S. airline to fly with? United Airlines. I have over 1 million flight miles with United Airlines, and so if United Airlines goes where we're going, then I generally fly with United. You know, would I prefer a different airline? I mean, if I was the same level of elite with an American or Delta, would I fly with them as well? Maybe. But the reason why we like United in particular, you know, it's based on where we live. Living here in Southern California, just, 40 miles from Los Angeles International Airport, United has a significant presence at LAX, and United loves to fly to Asia, and we love to fly to Asia. United, as an American carrier, has the most flights to Asia, and so that's why United gets a lot of our business. And like, to tell you how much United loves Asia, their flight to Singapore is UA1. United Airlines 1, right? That's how much they love flying to Asia. Min says, where are you traveling next? We've not booked our next trip. Ever since we came back from our Great Asia Adventure like 3 weeks ago, we all got some level of sick. And so we and by we, I mean, like, I got a cold, but then there's like a cough going around. And so once we get out from the travel funk, then we'll try to figure out what our next destination is. Boston Elevator says, any tips on Myrtle Beach? It's been a long time since I've been to Myrtle Beach. Be careful of sharks anywhere in Florida, right? South Carolina, Myrtle Beach. I know I've been there, but I didn't spend, like, I think I was there for like 1 hour or something like that. The Wu-Tang Life says, who do you call your channel Yellow Productions? I think that's supposed to say, why do you call your channel Yellow Productions? I have a whole frequently asked questions video that I go into this, but I'm going to give you the short version of why do I call my channel Yellow Productions. And so it all stems back from the time when I was a young lad of 16 years old. I was driving my car back home from In-N-Out Burger on Memorial Day weekend, about midnight, 1 in the morning, something like that, fairly late. And the car in front of me pulled over to the side of the road, stopped. I kept going. That car made a U-turn into the side of my car. There were 3 California Highway Patrol cars a block away filming an episode of the Real Stories of the California Highway Patrol. They came over to hear what the commotion was, and they were really interested in the other driver. They told me just to sit in my car. Turns out she was an exotic dancer at one of the local strip clubs in San Diego, had a little too much to drink, and so they were going to take her off to jail. Needless to say, it was her fault in the accident, but my car was pretty much totaled as far as the insurance was concerned. I was able to take it down to these, like, junkyards in San Diego that are by the Mexican border, where they like pulled out the frame, put on a front and a back panel from some other cars, and so now I'm driving a 1986 Honda Accord that is silver, like red and blue. So like, wow, those are like great colors. So I need to get my car painted. So I take my car to the paint shop and I look up at the board, not knowing what color to paint my car. But having just got into an accident with a drunk driver, I'm like, what is a color that people see me in and not run into me? And I look up at that board and I say yellow. Yellow's the color. And so I had my car painted yellow. And then I could never remember my license plate. And so then when I went to the DMV to get custom plates, this was back in the day when you couldn't like go online and figure out what plates are available. You just had to like go to the DMV and like try things. And so it turns out yellow was available, and so I got the license plate to say yellow on my yellow car, and then everybody just started calling me Yellow. So when I created the channel, I called it Yellow Productions based on my yellow car. If you follow the story later, then when I bought my new car after that one, Lexus IS300 in 2002, yellow. My dad drives that one around right now, so if you see a yellow Lexus IS300 driving around San Diego, it very well might be Electric Rick. And when we had our daughter, we upgraded to daddy and mommy mobiles, so sport utility vehicles. Lexus doesn't make yellow ones, so we have an orange and a blue Lexus NX is what OC Girl and I drive. All right, that's the story. Barry says, why do you like the fries in In-N-Out Burger? I love the burgers, not the fries. Barry, honestly, I think they're an acquired taste. I have just been eating them for 30 years, and so I like them. That's it. Ramen says, what's the best water temperature to swim at? The warmer, the better, I think. I mean, I guess it can be, like, too warm. But, like, if I'm in a swimming pool, I love it if the pool's heated to, like, 88 degrees Fahrenheit or something like that, which the ocean water never is. So warmer, the better. Hawaii, when it's in the 80s, it's nice. In Southern California, it never gets much above the 70s. Point Traveler says, I got targeted for a petition to save the Balboa Island Ferry. Do you know what's going on with it? I do. So the Balboa Island Ferry, it's a passenger car ferry that's here in Orange County in this community of Newport Beach. There's this large pleasure boat harbor, and there's this little island in the middle called Balboa Island, and it connects to this Balboa Peninsula. And it's like 200 feet from the island to the peninsula. And these ferries that are there, they are like diesel powered ferries. And the state of California has passed some like emissions controls that say within X number of years, passenger ferries are not allowed to operate unless they're electric. And the company that owns this ferry is like, I only own 3 of them, and nobody makes an electric one of these right now. Like, can you give me 10 more years so that like I can actually buy a ferry for cheap that's electric? And so anyway, the Save the Balboa Island Ferry isn't about make sure those things pollute forever, but they're to say like, hey, can we give that company more time so that the market can mature, so that they can buy, inexpensive electric ferries. There we go. Sean says, would you travel to Paris again? Absolutely, we would love to go to Paris again. Last time we were in London, we looked at doing like a day trip to Paris under the Eurostar rail. But yeah, we need to go back to Paris again, I think. Ramen Godin says, can you do a review of the Palazzo. On the list of places that I definitely want to do reviews of. And Tamla says, now I want Shake Shack. I love Shake Shack too. So, and there's an interesting story about Shake Shack and the fries. You know, Shake Shack's fries. There was an interview with their CEO where they said like they went through this whole thing to like make better fries at Shake Shack, where they were going to get like potatoes and peel them in the store, fresh peel, wash them, and everybody liked their like frozen bagged crinkle cut fries better than the fresh fry. Like Shake Shack spent millions of dollars developing these what they thought were better French fries, and then they threw it all away and went back to the old crinkle cut frozen fries that are just easy for them to get and distribute. Tim asks if I like Gordon Ramsay's fish and chips. I have not eaten Gordon Ramsay's fish and chips. I'm not a huge fish and chips fan, really, in general. Like, I don't hate it, but I don't seek it out. Ramen Ghost says, what's my favorite American restaurant? It's definitely In-N-Out Burger. There we go. And then for steak, I like Mastro's, Mastros. Mastro's has a location. They're like a chain, mini chain. I don't know. They've got locations here in Southern California. They also have a location on the Las Vegas Strip. Colleen says, I love your 360 walking tours. Are you planning on doing more? Debatable, Colleen. I bought the new Insta360 $700 360 camera that has like the 1-inch lenses on. I'm pointing to it because it's up there on the shelf. I've shot some videos with it, but I just don't know. I don't know if people would, if there's enough people to watch the 360 videos. Maybe I need to make one or two more and see if they do well. The problem is, when I post them on this channel, then people are expecting a regular video and they see the 360 one and they don't know what to make of it, and so they've been kind of a weird space. So I'm on the I could probably be convinced to, but it's not high on my list to do more 360 videos. Garrett says, I'm just starting out my YouTube channel and have been taking in your YouTuber series. Thumbnails are hard when you start up, but my real question is about outlines. Any advice? I just open up Google Docs and start making an outline. My outline for this live stream was 5 pages is my outline for going through this video. And it's just whatever's in your head, just start write it down, and you can move it around, and you can tell I don't read it, but I kind of look at it as I'm going through to help me with it. And same thing when I go out and about, I always print it out so that I have it to refer to about what the heck did I want to say. But again, it's not a script that I'm reading. That's it. My gardener's looking at me over here. That's all good. Yeah. It's fine. It's fine. Oh, I didn't see them. Okay. He forgot his clippers. So I've not seen his clippers. There we go. That's the magic of doing a live stream and having a window right here. If you ever see the sun change like this, right? All right. That's how you know this is live. All right. 3 Maple Trees says lol. There you go. Kathy says, I just bought the Insta360 camera. Yeah, I hope you enjoy it. And I bought the 360 camera less to do 360 videos and more to be able to pull out edited things from it in normal 2D. Sean says, what's the best city for public transportation? Tokyo, for sure. Tamala says, I thought about doing travel vlogging, but felt I wasn't enjoying my trip. How do you balance that, enjoying your trip and creating a vlog? Tamala, I would say carving out time for vlogging and then carving out time for enjoying your trip, really. And so, it's one for OC Girl and I, if an activity is recommended to take 2 hours, then we allocate 4 so that then we have time to do the vlog about it. So that's my recommendation to you, which is often why in vlogs I don't roll the camera on the arrival day or the departure day, because it just becomes too much if I'm trying to get to the airport and pack up and all this stuff. And so I kind of carve out the time to be this is what I'm going to record and this is not what I'm going to record. So Tamala, you could decide to do record every other day or record in the mornings or in the afternoons. I don't know, but yeah, don't do it all the time. Martin says, can I get the lawn service guy's number? Martin, if you're in Orange County and you want his number, send me an email and I will give it to you. I'm sure he'd appreciate the business. Ramen Goated says, what's your favorite amusement park? My favorite amusement park, Disneyland. Disneyland, just because I've grown up around it. But I would say of the Disney parks, my favorite Disney park is Disney Sea in Tokyo. And Barry says, I bought a GoPro Fusion because you were doing 360 videos. It's hard to edit them. GoPro discontinued the desktop software. Yeah, I edit them in Adobe Premiere. So that'd be my recommendation to you, would be to use Adobe Premiere. I mean, you still have to use the software that they give you to like process the videos that come out of it. I still think it's a good camera, but yes, it's annoying that step that you had to do to get off the camera and process it. Ramen Goated says, where is Topher? Where's Topher? Well, who's playing Topher today? We've got all these pandas right behind me, which brings us to the giveaway.
Yes, it's the time you've been waiting for. It's time for the giveaway.
All right, fellow explorers, since it's the 300,000th subscriber giveaway, I'm going to give away 3 Yellow Productions Crew shirts today for 300,000 if you can answer my question correctly. And my question to you is, behind me, how many stuffed pandas are there? And if you can be the first person to answer that question correctly, you will win a Yellow Productions Crew shirt. I should probably get out of the shot so you can see a little bit better. How many are there? Now, obviously, I sound really far away, but I see some numbers that are coming in, so I'm going to move back in. If you didn't win a shirt and you want to buy one, you can head over to the Yellow Productions shop. You can pick up a shirt. If you don't want to pick up a shirt, I'd really appreciate your support by joining the Yellow Productions crew. You can hit that join button down there, support quality content for $4.95 a month. Boy, that's cheaper than cable to support these videos, and hopefully a lot more educational than your Netflix subscription. All right, there's got to be some winners over here, so I'm going to hit this button.
And now we have a winner chicken dinner.
Oh, that was harder. That was harder than I thought. Okay, so the first winner with the first right answer, congratulations, Gus. You are a winner. And let's look for number 2 after Gus. Number 2 is Kathy. Totally Diamond Paintings. Congratulations. And then the scroll. The scroll is real on this. Okay, we have Gus. We have Kathy. And who's number 3? Number 3 is Panjo. Gus, Kathy, and Panjo, congratulations. 9 is the number of stuffed pandas behind me. So if you won, send me an email to chris@yellow-productions.com, and I will get... Oh, that was not the button I wanted to hit. And I will get a shirt headed right out your way. Well, fellow explorers, again, thank you so much for your support over the years. Couldn't do it without you, because if you weren't watching, wouldn't do it anymore. And so thank you. I look forward to your support in helping me beat the Travel Channel. So we're on our milestone to beat them. It's 490,000 subscribers Travel Channel has, so figure 500,000 is probably the milestone to get to next. All right, well, fellow explorers, as usual, I won't say goodbye because I'm going to see you in the next video. Oh, and Garrett says, thanks, Chris, and have a great night. I see Garrett joined the Yellow Productions crew, too. So for those of you who joined, thank you for your support already. It truly touches me. All right, out here.